We designated spitters live every week. Live. Designated homie, cause we spit heat. We designated spitters, Francis and Pete. Yes, talking Yankee baseball, hip-hop for the streets. Yup, we designated, yup, we innovative. Yup, we designated spitters, time that you know. Yup, we designated, yup, we innovative. Yup, we designated spitters, let's start the show.
Yankee fans, what is going on? It is the Designated Spittaz, and that is not Francis Lee because there will be a grandmother wrapped around his arm, but it is Gary Sheffield Jr. Fam, what is going on, man?
Pete, what's up? I'm just recovering from, I'm hungover from last night's game.
And unfortunately, we're so stupid, we're covering tonight's.
I know. Based on sheer odds, it should be a lot better today.
Oh,
so, I mean,
God,
it can't be that bad.
I hope it can't get much worse than yesterday, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, I can't, because, I mean, I thought it was going to be a good game last night. I thought there'd be scoring. Hell, even if we lost, I'd be cool with some scoring. Yeah. 8-6, 8-7. And unfortunately, that's not what we got. We got 2 dud performances from Baltimore and the New York Yankees.
Yep.
The richest organization in the history of sports. We wet the sheets, and we were there for 5 hours. So I just appreciate everybody who was there because I can't believe we captivated 250 plus viewers to spend their Friday nights watching that. That was incredible.
It was unbelievable. It just talks to the fan base that we have, and when the fans get here and sub, I really think they're like, you know what, this is authentic.
Yeah,
like these guys are real. So I am staying here and I am watching, and you know, obviously you guys know we hit AK. We didn't just hit AK. We're already at like I think 15 more over AK, like 8,015 already. So we're gonna start the countdown now to 10K. I mean that's a huge thing for us. We're super excited about that. But the Spittaz are here. I mean, we have a lot to talk about. I want to cover a couple of different things in chat. You guys already know super chats. We're gonna answer immediately. We'll try to get to your stuff as much as we can, but obviously we're alerted by super chats also. But the main thing for this team, I want to talk about Luis Severino. I really want to give that guy his credit. I want to talk about the lineup. In a few minutes, a little later in the show, we're going to discuss today's lineup and today's game before me and Gary actually jump over to Game Season Live, which is right after this. And we'll get right to that. But I want to start right there. We're gonna break it down a little bit for you guys and discuss what we feel is wrong with this Yankee lineup, how easily in reality it could be fixed, and I got something that's probably going to shock a lot of people. The Yankees are a World Series caliber team if they made the right moves, and they haven't done that up until this moment. So I want to start with Luis Severino. Gary, I know I said it on here with you guys. I said it to probably everybody in the chat knows I said it. I don't trust Luis Severino being healthy. I still don't. But let me tell you this. He has shocked the hell out of me how good he looks.
Right? I mean, first off, how about that cutter? That random cutter that he has. And you know it's in your shock, Pete. Garrett Cole and a lot of these other guys in the Yankees rotation are out here looking at Sevy going, hey, what are you doing with that grip? Yeah. He went and faced Vladimir Guerrero hot off a 3-homer game and just shoved it right up his ass.
Yeah.
How many pitchers are doing that? And this is a dude who's really, what he should be worried about is pitching with health. This dude actually showed up, and I said this, I tweeted this. Sevy looks better today than he's ever looked. That's in the first half.
David Cohn said it, and I was like, all right, hold on, give him time. But his last performance, stuff-wise, that's the best Sevy I ever seen.
Yeah, and he's not just a two-pitch guy. See,
not
when you throw
all.
98, 99, 100 miles an hour with a power slider, you can get outs in the big leagues.
Right.
Sevy, first half, Sevy showed it to us. But there's a ceiling to that. You get up to the wild card, you get up to a big game, and some of the better offenses in the league, like Houston, they can really put the bat on the ball. I remember seeing Minnesota tag Sevy early. I believe it was Brian Dozier that took him deep to start that game.
Correct.
And when you're looking at that, that's a 2-pitch pitcher. That doesn't mean his fastball has to get better. It means his complementary pitches have to get better. And Sevy didn't just sit around on his tuchus for the past 2 years and do nothing. Sevy sat around and said, how can I actually get better as a pitcher and get healthy? Right. He showed up. Toronto's a hot offense. He completely dialed it in from inning number 1, dominated, just completely dominant, and picked up the $324 million man who I still believe in. So Sevy's performance was actually gigantic. And at that point, he essentially righted the ship for the Yankees. And now we just need the bats to do the same thing.
Yeah, the amazing thing that I love about Sevy is, if you guys remember early on when he came up, he had the changeup. He had good movement on it, but the control was terrible.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of the young Yankee pitchers struggle with. Luis Gil, the same thing. He has no control over the changeup. Luis Severino now has pitches that move in every angle, and he throws them all hard. Even his changeup is 91.
Yeah.
Fastball 98. The cutter now 90, 92, 93, 94. The changeup 90 goes in, and we all know the slider he has. And he's a guy who's also never been accused of using any type of substance when it comes to spider attack or anything like that. He's a guy who just goes out there and looks to shove, and he has done it, man. I am overly impressed. And coming into the season, I was like, guys, you can't call this guy number 2 because we don't even know what the hell he is. So first I got to see him, and I got to make my mind up there, but I also don't even know if he'll be healthy. So now all I'm saying to myself is, stay healthy. If this guy stays healthy, he is going to light shit up. And it is so important for the Yankees that he does that because they need somebody behind Cole. And I think Cole needs somebody behind him, in all fairness. I think he needs to work off of somebody. And him and Severino could really be that 1-2 pair that changes things up for themselves.
Well, how about the fact that Sevy's not just pitching to one quadrant of the strike zone? We watched Garrett Cole, and it feels, and I said this in private, I don't know if I've said this on air, Garrett Cole seems to dominate the outside corner of the strike zone. He likes to stay away.
He does.
And when Garrett Cole's approach is, we're going to try to hit the outside and away corner with a comeback fastball, sliders off of that, and occasionally when I don't have that tight slider, I'll go to my changeup. That's his approach. Well, he knew when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. steps in the batter's box, he likes to get his hands extended. Let's pound him inside, okay? Garrett Cole really he stuck to one game plan. Jonathan Loaizaga hopped in the game, went to the exact same game plan. We made no adjustments. What did Luis Severino do? He looked at the game plan, said, what we're doing with Vladdy Jr. doesn't work. I'm going to outthink them. I'm going to go soft away. Let me show him that cutter outside. Let me show him that slider outside. And then he started going up in the zone with that 4-seam fastball, and everything started to work because he now is a 3 and 4 pitch guy in all locations in the zone, in and out of the zone. And he used to be a 2-pitch guy.
Yeah.
So he's showing us this cerebral Sevy. And if he can do this and stay healthy, there's no reason that we can't have 2 aces here. I don't see why not.
No doubt about it. No, and really, Sevy might say, hey, Cole, you might have to step back a little bit, buddy. I mean, the way he looks, you never know. And that is honestly, that's the best case scenario. And it's even more of the reason why I was saying, go get a starter. Go add another one to this rotation. And that has no knock on the way Taillon pitched his first game. We're going to see him tonight. How Monty pitched yesterday was fantastic. I mean, overall, the starters have been very good. Cortez was terrific. He actually pitched, now that you mentioned that, he also jammed a lot of Vlad Guerrero. He went inside a lot to him.
He did.
So maybe they said, you know what, we can make those adjustments, and it worked well. So I'm excited about where the pitching is. And me and Gary, before we went on the air, we were talking about that. We said the craziest thing about this team is that they haven't picked up on that enough. We see the Yankees rotation out the gate, besides Cole, looks good. The Yankees bullpen looks phenomenal. I mean, everybody that comes out of that pen, even the new young guys, Marinaccio, J.P. Sears, you can see why these guys are on a major league club. You can see it. You're like, yeah, these guys are major league pitchers. We like these guys. These guys are good. They're ready to go. They have all of that, but they refused to figure out the main issue. And Gary, I want to shout you out on something because you brought up a great point. You said, I'm tired of people talking about how the Yankees don't hit runners in scoring position. Look at the lineup. How could they?
How can you possibly ask low batting average players to hit with runners on. And that's the thing. When you have a man on third base with one out, everyone says it in the chat. Everybody says it on Twitter. Everybody says it in their living room. I want a player who can put the ball in play or get a hit, score that man. You're asking players, essentially what you're saying is I want a guy who can hit for a high batting average with ducks on the pond. Why would you expect players who hit for a low batting average over the totality of the season suddenly to just go from being a 240 hitter to hitting 300 with runners in scoring position? That doesn't happen. The batting averages that you see spike with runners on are contact first players. Remember when we talked about who was the best guy with runners in scoring position 2 years ago? That was DJ LeMahieu.
Yep.
That was the best player that the New York Yankees had. This is why he was where he was at in the MVP race, because high batting average players, batting average doesn't mean everything. But when you get into those positions where you need a hit, don't throw up a Mark McGwire or a power type guy and a Luke Voigt and expect guys to scramble at bats and get hits. You have built this roster to score randomly. Walk, 3-run homer. That's what we're built to do. Not look at, okay, this is a big spot, I need to come through. We're not built that way. So we have to start looking at this offense for what they are and hope that guys can start putting the balls in seats or change the roster. That's what we're looking at.
William in the chat too, about the Game Season Live song. I'm not sure. I actually got to double check on that one. I could get back to you on that. But no, you're spot on, man. And it's funny because, DJ LeMahieu right now is kind of playing the shuffle guy. He's like, all right, he could play second, he could play third. And in reality, I don't give a poot really where he plays at this point. Just have this guy in the lineup. And can we have him batting a little higher in the lineup? I mean, he almost won an MVP award batting leadoff for this team. We seem to forget that. I mean, and if he is healthy, and the one difference, if anybody watches games the way we watch games, you'll know immediately that LeMahieu was playing with an injury last year. Let me tell you why. Look at the way he's driving the ball to right field. Even the ground balls on the ground are hit hard to right.
They are.
So
everything he was hitting was rolling over last year.
No doubt. He was pulling the ball a lot. They were all little weak grounders on tons of double plays, and we were like, this is not that guy. Either he's lost it all, or he's injured. And come to find the end of the year, he's injured. He was injured all year playing through it. So if he is healthy, and we have no reason to believe that DJ LeMahieu is not healthy, he needs to be in every single lineup every day. And it's shameful. But it tells you a lot about this organization that Gleyber Torres is in there over him.
Yeah, we just need to look at it as what is our best option at every position and play those guys. We are not deep enough in the season to be like, okay, let's just start playing musical chairs and all of us should be fresh by season's end. That should not be our goal, to be fresh by season's end. We're not that type of team. We should be fighting and scratching and clawing for every win we can get. But here we are looking at Trevino, who's starting at catcher tonight. He should have been starting yesterday.
That's right.
There's no reason. And I'm not here to say that Trevino's the option for the Yankees, that it's the best possible thing that the Yankees could do starting from this offseason. But given the roster that we're looking at today, it's Higgy or Trevino. And when Trevino's coming off a big day, you have to play off that confidence, play off of and reward a guy for playing well.
Yeah.
And look at the rest of the roster and say, if you play well, you play.
That's it.
That's what we need to be predicated on. And Aaron Hicks, why I don't think he should be hitting leadoff, Hicks has not played terrible.
No, not at all.
He really hasn't played terrible. And we talked about it yesterday. He's arguably one of our best at bats right now. Doesn't mean he's a leadoff hitter, but for Hicks to play, I wouldn't be upset. But when I look at Josh Donaldson penciled in at third base, hitting fifth, and I say, what's he done over DJ LeMahieu?
Nothing besides look terrible. He's looked
to
terrible.
Play today? What's he done?
We were talking about it yesterday, man. He looks old. He really does. He looks old, and this is not a guy. This is a guy last year, but he had a good year. He had a good year. We don't sit at that and look at last year and go, well, it kind of tells you that he's not going to be that guy. It's like, no, he played good baseball.
He did.
But he's nowhere near anything that looks similar to that. So You're right, and that is, again, my issue with management on this team. Not even going into the fact that, you get thrown out after a game. Thank you to so many people who actually went at Boone on that. I appreciate that. I'm happy that more people were doing it. But you got to play the hot hand. Like, everybody brings up too, this is a great time for the Yankees because they're about to play these 15 games against teams they should beat. Well, guess what? If you don't give yourself the best option to beat those teams, don't be fucking shocked when you don't do it.
The difference between these teams is not that drastic, to be honest with you.
No, you're right.
These are professional baseball players. I know we were just laughing about whatever Boom or whatever his name is on the Baltimore Orioles. Boom. Yeah, Ben Boom. I'm looking at players like that. These are professional athletes. Correct. They can come beat you on any given day. Yep. So when you look at the best teams in the league versus wild card teams, the difference is like 8 wins.
Correct. You're right.
6 wins.
You're 100% right. 6
wins? The Yankees can throw together 6 wins in a weekend and a half.
Well, look at last year.
It's nothing.
I mean, the Yankees were only 1 game up in the playoffs because they lost 8 games to Baltimore last year.
Exactly. And we lost 14 games in a row. How many of those games did we lose? Of those 14, because we didn't play one guy that could have put us over the top on that given day. And that's the mentality. If we have the mentality to play the best players every single day, it feels like a all hands on deck situation. Right. But right now it's kind of, all right, well, this is the soldiers that we're throwing out. We'll hang back all this ammo over here. No, that's a long-term mentality, and that's not win now.
Yep, it's definitely not. And, one of the things, too, that drives me crazy, you spoke about this a little bit last night, I believe it was. What is with this early rest day? And the Yankees obviously have a pattern. They have it planned out for the year, I feel like, of whose day is a rest, and no matter what, it's a rest day. Gary, I'm looking at something here, and I kind of want to laugh just to show everybody how much baseball has changed. And I understand guys are investments. Your father came to the Yankees in his age 35 season. He then stayed with the Yankees his age 36 season and 37 season. I'm going to focus on the 2 years. Those 2 years, a 35 and 36-year-old Gary Sheffield played 154 games.
Right.
You mean to tell me that a 29-year-old, 30-year-old, whatever it is, cannot play 155, 156 for the Yankees this year? They got to have rest games 5, 6, 7 games into the season? Why? Against division rivals?
This is something that I've talked to my dad privately about. And he's had conversations even in the moment. I mean, I'm 12, 13 years old. When all that's going on, I'm at Yankee Stadium in the clubhouse. There were days where my dad would look at me and said, I shouldn't be playing today. Today, I don't feel good. My shoulder's killing me. Can you grab that for me in my locker? I can't go get it, right? These are conversations that he can confirm have happened. There are days where players should play, and just the fact that his presence hitting third in the lineup every single day helps Alex Rodriguez, helps Hideki Matsui, helps Derek Jeter, because it changes the way guys are pitched. When you take Gary Sheffield out the lineup, it ensures the 2004 and 2005 Yankees that the 3-hitter that day is going to be pitched differently, which means the 4 hitters pitch differently. It just trickles down the lineup each and every day. Right. And even when you're talking about the 1 through 4 is strong, when you're everyday 5-hitter, even a guy like Jorge Posada, who was usually penciled in at 5 or 6 in the lineup, just being there every single day lengthens that lineup and changes the way the 1 through 4 are pitched. But when you look at the Yankees lineup, they have not built a lineup that can sustain taking out a 5-hitter or a 2-hitter or even a leadoff hitter on any given day.
Great point.
You guys have built a roster that has to play every single day. And if that's the case, we should see the best players that you've got, unless they're hurt, and they feel like they cannot contribute on that day. That's the only reason guys should be sitting. We're sitting here game 5 and we're talking about off days. Yep. And I said this, we shouldn't be talking about off days in week 2 of the season. And yeah, it's early, but if it's early, your body should feel like it's early and you should be playing. Yep. It's that simple.
And that is a great point. I mean, they don't have that type of lineup to do it. And we got a super chat from L.I. Yankee King who says, I love that DJ LeMahieu is proving me wrong. Play him. And he goes at third base, but in reality, get the guy in the damn lineup. I mean, you don't want to look back. And the games yesterday that they lost, we know. I mean, it was almost comical at some points watching that game, saying they just didn't want to win that game. I mean, there was opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to win this game yesterday. And those are the games you look back later and you go, well, if we won that game, it would have been all right. If we won this game, and you want to try to cut that shit out as much as you can, and it's super frustrating to watch a game like that and to see guys like Gallo go up there and just do nothing. When there's 2 strikes at this point, you're just like, all right, I'm done. And then Yes Network wants to fit in with the excuses. Well, when he hits the ball, well, he never fucking hits it. So what does it matter? Like, you know what? Matter of fact, I was listening to the Orioles broadcast, and they brought up a great point. They said flat out, and I'm so happy somebody said it. They said even with the shift being gone, he'll never bat high because he doesn't hit the ball.
No.
It's obvious, and people want to, oh, well, he's one of the unlucky players of the shift.
No.
Guys, no, he's not. He doesn't make contact. And Gary, I got to give you credit again on this. You're right what you said. Joey Gallo's a good ball player. He is. Not for this team.
No. Because if you put him on a lineup like Houston, when you look at Houston, you say, okay, Kyle Tucker, last year, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman. When you look at those players, what does it scream? It screams contact first player. Michael Brantley, who, if you have an entire lineup of contact first guys, and then you plug a swing for the fences, all or nothing guy in the middle, now is when they actually put a ball and play hard, no one can shift. The balls that are in the seats aren't solo homers. They're 3-run bombs. They're grand slams. The Pete Alonsos and Joey Gallos of the world, they have a place in Major League Baseball. They're good ball players. Pete Alonso, obviously a better baseball player.
Yeah.
But when you put them in a lineup of Lindor, Starling Marte, and you have all these contact first players, they get better. And to address the comment, he said, I'm glad that DJ has proved me wrong. What I'm wondering is, why does DJ LeMahieu not have the same fan club that Joey Gallo has? Why is that? Because DJ LeMahieu was our best player.
He's been.
Essentially.
Yeah,
he's been our best player. Since we signed him,
you could argue that those first 2 years, he's the MVP of this club in both years.
Last year, Aaron Judge was our best player.
Yeah,
the years
definitely.
Before that, I believe DJ LeMahieu was the most well-oiled machine on this team.
I don't think it's even an argument. I think it's obvious.
Here's the question. Let's look at the lineup today. So who on this lineup is better than DJ LeMahieu when he's healthy? Because now DJ's healthy. He's hitting. He's doing fine. He's actually doing well. Aaron Hicks. Nope. Aaron Judge, I'd say he's better. Anthony Rizzo, I wouldn't say he's a better player.
No, he's
Stan,
not.
You can make an argument that Stan's a better player.
Yep.
Josh Donaldson's absolutely not a better player. Joey Gallo's not a better player. Gleyber Torres absolutely has never been a better player other than 2017.
Right.
IKF never in his life will be better. And obviously Trevino, who's our backup catcher, really our third string catcher, is not better.
Yep.
So when you list 2 players of the 9 starters are a better player than a dude on the bench in game 7 of the season, game 8 of the season, What are we talking about? Right. It's our best option, guys. I know that he had an off year. Even if he had an off year and if he was actually healthy, he's still a top 3-4 player on the roster. Those players play. Simple.
His bad year still led the Yankees in hits.
He did.
And that it alone is comical. But you know what? Another guy playing with an injury all year probably doesn't hit 270 something. So this is just
right.
And you know what? I also respect the dude saying, you know what? I'm probably getting wrecked out there. I bet I am. But my ass is going to be in the lineup tomorrow because I'm going to keep giving it what I got. Until finally he got injured more, and it was like, all right, I can't no more. Now I'm actually hurt. Now I'm going to be a detriment to my team. And he didn't do that. So, yeah, guys, on the screen right there, that is the lineup for today's game. Again, Hicks is now in. We got another leadoff guy again, Aaron Hicks. You know, Gary, too. God, I swear, I mean, you know this stuff, but I would love to ask people like your father, even like if Ozzy was here. At some point, don't you want to go to the ballpark and kind of have an idea of where you're playing? Or what your lineup spot is? Is that ever something in a Major League ball player's mind where they're like, you know what? All right, today, here's the starting pitcher. Okay, I know what he got. I know this. I'm leading off. Here's what I'm going to try to do. Is there any thought to that?
Well, my dad just hopped on Sean Casey's show with MLB Network, and he told Joe Torre in his story that if I'm not hitting third, essentially you can kiss my ass. He obviously said it in his own words, and for people who want to see the podcast, you can go check it out for yourself.
Yeah, he was also going to give Casey a Mercedes. That's a pretty cool story.
It is. Cool, yeah. Casey's a fool for not accepting that Mercedes. I'll tell you that right now. And yeah, but if my dad is telling Joe Torre that, and this is a manager who's proven it. This is an organization that's already before my dad ever showed up was a proven organization. Right, my dad knew that. He's still as one of the game's best players, if not the game's best hitter in 2004 or 2005, was looking at the team and saying, if you don't hit me third, I'll be damned. Yeah. So what do you think that DJ LeMahieu, who's shown up to the yard and is like, if we are sitting here saying, well, he's the best hitter on the Yankees for the past 4 seasons, except for last year, why would DJ look at the lineup and see himself penciled in 5th and not have a problem with it? He's going to tell us he's okay with it just for a sake of handling the Yankees, just everything that comes with the coverage. But as an individual and a human being, when you're one of the best players on the team, hitting 5th does not show you're one of the best players on the team. That shows me that 1 through 4 is a better player. And when I look at this lineup of Hicks and Donaldson, I don't see better players than DJ LeMahieu. I just don't.
They're not. And, I that is the most frustrating part of this team because really in reality, he's proven it before. So what's the issue? He's been in the leadoff spot for this team and it worked. So what's the issue? However you go about it, I know yesterday you said you like Rizzo 2nd, Judge 3rd. So LeMahieu, Rizzo, Judge, I'd be okay with that. I kind of like the idea of Rizzo 3rd. But I'd be okay with that either way because it does signify that, and on top of that too, he's also getting the most at-bats in that game then. So you want your contact guy to be a guy that gets those chances. So if you get lucky with a Trevino, maybe with a leadoff single, a walk or something, then you got Rizzo coming who maybe even if he's on second, moves that runner over because he makes contact. Then let your boppers worry about getting him in. But the Yankees have this horrible mentality of every day it's a shuffleboard. I don't understand. I really don't get it. I don't get. I would assume Gleyber's not lineup daily.
Yeah, I would assume that. I would assume that Gleyber might still be on the trade block, and they don't want to sit him. I think that could be.
We talked about that right before we went live. I have a feeling, and not necessarily. Well, I think that is part of it. I think the Yankees are scared to be wrong. Yeah. Scared to lose this investment that they, and at the end of the day, I'm like, bro, you traded for him, and you got the guy that you traded for him right back, so who gives a poot?
Who cares?
Who cares? And on top of that, too, I've been told by a lot of people, Kevin Kernan, 30-plus years in the New York Post, whatever it was, New York Hall of Fame for writing, great guy. He told me flat out, and I got to believe he's right. He said flat out, Brian Cashman's biggest problem is he has a major ego to want to win on everything that he does.
Huge ego.
And that is the problem. You can just tell us the issue. We all know it. Look, Aaron Hicks is surprising me with his start. Is he having a great start? No, but he looks better than I expected. And
he does, yes.
I'll give him that all day. Gleyber, but there was better options than Aaron Hicks this year. We all know that. Gleyber Torres, I'm sorry. When you got DJ LeMahieu on his team, he shouldn't be on the ball club. If Gleyber Torres can't play short, that was the Yankees' answer right there to go, you know what? He got to go. That's simple. He got to go. He can't play shortstop for us. He has to go. DJ LeMahieu is the second baseman. We know all the little things that this team needed to do to get better, but again, they refused.
Pete, who gives a rat's ass about winning trades? Who cares about winning trades at this point?
If the results on the field are what really counts, you're right. Who gives a shit?
Pete, if you win the World Series, here's the thing. If Gleyber Torres hit 37 home runs, let's just say we dealt him to the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
We went and got Luis Castillo.
Yeah.
Then we go get, or let's say we send Gleyber Torres to the Pittsburgh Pirates. We go get Brian Reynolds. Obviously, there's going to be other prospects in there, but you get the gist. He's the headliner. Gleyber Torres goes and hits 43 home runs, is second in MVP, and the New York Yankees win the World Series.
Who gives a poot?
Who are they talking about?
The Yankees.
Are they talking about Gleyber Torres?
No.
Are they even having a conversation about the fact that Gleyber Torres was a Yankee? Maybe once.
Nobody would even be thinking about him at all.
Nobody in New York would care, because that's the mentality in New York. And I understand trying to say, well, anytime you make a trade, you want to win. No, the Yankees need to be looking at the macro, which the only goal is to win the title.
Damn right.
If you win the title, I don't care if Bartolo Colon is in center field. If it's going to make the Yankees most likely to win, the Yankees should have no problem ignoring ego.
No doubt about it.
Ignoring a GM, ignoring the owner, ignoring upsetting the locker room, any of it.
No doubt about it.
All of it is trumped by winning.
Yep.
If you win,
Facts.
I don't care if Garrett Cole and Donaldson have made up Jiminy Christmas. I don't care I don't care about anything in the locker room at all. I just want to see the Yankees win. And if the Yankees win, then I don't want to see what Brian Cashman's got to say about I've got to walk in Manhattan. I've got to be able to walk down the city. If I trade Gleyber Torres, that's just not going to happen. Nobody's sitting here crying for Gleyber Torres.
Gives a shit. Are you
Nobody
kidding me?
Cares.
Let me tell you, guys want to know something?
Come on.
Aaron Judge is beloved. The minute the Yankees trade him, no one's going to give a shit. And that's true.
Care.
Look, at the end of the day, because if you're real, you're a Yankee fan.
Yeah.
So, like we said it, me and Francis said it. Look, we were complaining about the All-Star. We know it, but we said the first show, when the season began, we said, you know what? It's over. We can't do shit about it. So now we're going to ride with the team we got. And yes, we're going to pat them on the back when they need to. We're going to call out the shit when it has to be there. We got a super chat from Ronnie, and then I actually want to bring up another point on the World Series. We got 2 super chats, I believe. Ronnie says, of all the suggestions booth commentators give on a daily, nightly basis, Maben's insistence on Hicks batting leadoff is what comes to fruition. That is pretty funny. L.I. Yankee King says, would you keep DJ LeMahieu at second base and Torres at third base? No. Gleyber Torres has proved he can't play the left side of the infield as it is. I don't want to put him at maybe a tougher position when it comes to fielding harder balls and things like that.
With shifting, isn't the third baseman a shortstop at this point?
Yes, exactly. But the point I want to bring up actually has to do with Gleyber Torres. Did the Chicago Cubs cry and bitch and complain when they traded Gleyber Torres for Chapman and won the World Series?
Not at all.
To this day, they don't talk about Gleyber Torres. No,
people still act like, we're sitting here laughing like hyenas at Yankee Stadium going, we won that trade, cash God, about winning a Gleyber Torres trade. We lost the Gleyber Torres trade.
Yeah,
we lost.
They won the World Series.
They won the World Series, and Yankees fans are looking at it and saying, well, we won the trade because we got a player, an arguable superstar, a guy who potentially could be a 1 through 3 hitter in this lineup, and we got Aroldis Chapman back. How much better does it get? Well, if you don't win the World Series or get anything close to it, which we haven't, you've lost the trade. All these moves have not worked. So that's really the gist of it. The Cubs, I don't care who they give up. They could have given up Chris Bryant as well in the deal. And if it resulted in the Cubs ending their curse, trade was won. That's the only reason they made the deal, was because they thought Aroldis Chapman would get them over the top, and it did.
Yep, and it worked for him. So, all of that stuff comes second nature to winning the World Series, and it's really that simple. But the point that I'm trying to make, and I think that we are trying to make here, is that when I said when the show began, this team truly is not far away from being a World Series caliber team. All I got to do is tell you guys, look at the pitching and tell me that you don't think it's World Series caliber. Now, you can make the point and go, well, Pete, I'm still a little iffy on the rotation in big games. That's okay. That is a fair point for you to make. All I'm saying is that area is really secure. They're like an additional acquisition, or Luis Severino staying healthy and really pushing that envelope. Maybe Jameson Taillon being healthy and continuing to develop and get better. Jordan Montgomery, same thing. To have enough to go, hey, that 1-2-3 is pretty fire. Yeah, now pair it with that bullpen. It's fucking legit.
Yeah, so, our pitching is going to give us a puncher's chance no matter what.
No doubt about
it. But
our
offense is the problem.
Man. It's
it's not just like, it's not 1 or 2 guys.
It's not.
For us to sit here and talk about Hicks and where he's hitting in the lineup or DJ not playing. Yeah, those are important topics, but at the same time, these are not problems we should have. Guys like Gleyber Torres shouldn't be on the roster. We should be looking at maybe a Brian Reynolds in center field, a Carlos Correa at shortstop, and our problem should be, okay, is Volpe good enough to be starting at shortstop in a year? And then let's move Carlos Correa, because we're talking about, you've got to build an entire lineup. And when you look at this lineup, and let's just say they let us take care of this lineup, we're still weak 6 through 9. We are weak. There's not much there. So the top of the lineup's got to score. And when you bring the lineup to say, well, the 1 through 5 has got to do all the damage. If you look at some of the best teams in the league, a lot of times you'll see the Dodgers win games 7-2, 8-1. And then you look at the box score and you go, Freddie Freeman probably went 3 for 3 with 3 doubles. And you check it out, Freddie Freeman was 0 for 1 with 2 walks. And the 7 or 8 hitters, like Gavin Lux goes deep, Max Muncy goes deep. They're complementary players. Yeah. That's what the Yankees are lacking, is that the overall roster is just not strong enough. And it doesn't really matter what names you pull out the hat. We're not pulling the best ones out, but at the same time, the ones that are in the garage, they're not that good either. Facts. They're just not that good.
And I want to shout this tweet out. I don't have the graphic up for the tweet of the week, but I'm going to say it out loud because I read this earlier, man, and I'm like, this is so spot on, and it tells you everything you need to know about this front office. This is from @YankeeSource. He said, regardless of the loss, the Yankees are okay with pinch hitting their starting shortstop on April 15th to replace him with Marwin Gonzalez. That's when you know you failed as a front office. That is so accurate and so spot on, and why this network, above all of them, because trust me when I tell you, I don't just say that bullshitting. I listened, I looked, I observed around us. And I remember saying, I've heard the noise. People making little videos in a black light room and shit with little teddy bears behind them going, we don't need Correa. Why do we want him? No. Then they get IKF. We got the best guy available. The guy's getting pinch hit every day. That's the shortstop this organization told you is better than every free agent shortstop, the greatest free agent class of all time for shortstops.
Why don't we talk about what
over
we
there
need?
In Texas hitting 360.
He sure is. And why do the Yankees always, I don't care, you can pick your poison with the players that we've let go. Why would we sit here and talk about what we need? At what point did the Dodgers really feel like, well, we're the best team in the NL? Did anyone think that before they got Mookie Betts, they weren't going to win the NL West? Did anyone really think that the Padres were going to outrun them? Nobody thought that. But here's what the Dodgers said. We are the best team in the league. We maybe don't need Mookie Betts. We maybe don't need Trevor Bauer. We maybe don't need Max Scherzer. They do it anyway. That's what the best organizations in baseball do. So we do everything that we can do. And you don't have to look at it and say, do we need Bryce Harper? And that's what we were doing. When Bryce Harper was a free agent, we looked at him from the lens of, do we need this? We looked at it from the lens of, can we possibly win the World Series without forking over a 12-year, $330 million deal? That's exactly what happened. Everybody at all of our major networks, the biggest Yankees networks that we've got, all said the same thing. Yep. Do we have to make this investment? Yep. Because if we have to make this investment, then when we go forward in the years, we're going to have to say, well, we've got another superstar. Let's go get that guy. It changes expectations. Now, instead of having expectations of getting Carlos Correa, we look at it through the lens again of, do we need this? Because Yankees fans, half of them, and I know a lot of them aren't here today, looked at it and said, do we need Carlos Correa? No. They looked at it and said, well, we have a puncher's chance to win the World Series, and then we've got Volpe sitting right behind him. Yep. That was our mentality. And then they put all this pressure on Volpe, and if Volpe's not good, we're just going to shift the conversation to Juan Soto and all these other guys and talk about, again, what we don't need. Yep. Guys, you never have to look at a player and say, well, we need this guy. That's never usually how it goes. But you have to look at it from a point of view of, is this guy going to increase our chances to win the World Series? If the answer is yes, chances are, as a Yankee, that signing makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm even laughing because I said last night, I said, man, let me go see what Tyler Wade's up to. Tyler Wade's over there in LA hitting 260. You know what I mean? But I'm just like, you traded that guy, and another thing too, Yankee fans, don't be bullshitted by Brian Cashman when he sits there and tells you, well, we talked to these guys, but it really wasn't in our budget to go and make an offer. They never intended on doing it.
Never once.
That is the truth. The truth of the matter is they never intended on it. You want to know why? If they did, they would have made moves before it to work on a deal. Aroldis Chapman would have been moved. Salary would have been taken away. They would have tried hard to get out of Aaron Hicks' contract by maybe adding an Everson Pierre, who I think is a phenomenal prospect, but you could have done that to get a team to bite on the $10 million a year. It's not a lot of money. But you could have done that to save money, to go, you know what? If that is my budget, Mr. Steinbrenner, you're paying $260, I respect it. Let me go do my stinking job. I'm going to fit Correa in. I'm going to fit a Starlin Marte, one of these guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to make room for one of these guys by doing moves. You gave me it. You're the boss. $260, cool. I'm going to make space.
Yeah, and look at the super chat. We have a super chat from Hassan. He says, the Yankees no longer operate with any sense of urgency, and I strongly believe that the narrative of the Yankees buying championships has made them gun shy on making obvious moves. Now, here's something that's really important. He mentions at the end there, it's a great comment from Rasan. Gun shy. The Yankees going to get a Bryce Harper or paying for Juan Soto or any of these players, a Corey Seager that fans have wanted. Now, if the Yankees sign a player like that, the payroll is going to be high. But here's where the conversation is. Other organizations' fan bases are going to say you're buying the team.
Right.
But if we spend $250 million, the only people who are going to talk about that payroll is us.
Yeah.
We're talking about it.
That's right.
Yet, they didn't sign any groundbreaking. What is the narrative in MLB Network right now? If you talk to anybody on a major platform, they would say what the Yankees did what? The Yankees didn't do much this offseason. They would say they didn't do much. They were not spenders like we thought they'd be. But the funny part is the Yankees still found a way to push the payroll from $210 million to $260 million.
Yeah.
It looks like they spent, but it only looks like they spent to us.
Correct.
That's why we've continually said, ignore what people are saying, ignore the narratives, look at a player and say, is that guy a star? Let's go get him.
Yep.
And that's always the mentality. If it is remotely feasible, go get a guy who fits in on your roster. Go get it. And they just haven't done that. They just don't. They are constantly looking for the consolation prize and going in the bin at Walmart trying to get a deal. And sometimes you got to get that deal. That just has to be done as well. But the major moves are just not being made.
Not at all, man. And you can go buy. I mean, the funny thing is, here's a great thing that I like to do. I like to say stuff like this. After years past of passing up on somebody, who's in that position now? Manny Machado would have been fucking terrific.
Terrific.
I mean, such a good fit. He's been here. He's done. He was like, correct. He was like, hey, Yankees, please. Yankees, I'm right here. Sign me. And it doesn't happen. And he goes to the Padres, and you could tell he's a vocal. All that bullshit about, like, again, it really is like it's created propaganda to get a fan base to go, you don't want him. You know why? He's a cancer to a clubhouse. Buck Showalter comes out and goes, I don't understand where any of this is coming from. The guy, the teammates love him. He's vocal. He's an amazing leader. He goes to the Padres, and he yells at their star shortstop because he's like, you're fooling around. It's not about you. It's about the team. Stop that shit. And he does it on live camera. And I'm like, yes. I love it. Your guy, Bryce Harper, was passed up on. I mean, look at the guys that we have passed up on, and then look at your roster now and go, okay, instead of having Machado at third, we got Josh Donaldson. A 36-year-old Donaldson who is getting paid $25 million a year that I don't even want to talk about the whole deal about what a screw job it was. It's a friggin' joke.
Pete, you know how they got away with Bryce Harper? Here's really the gist of it. The real reason that the New York Yankees got away with it, and that the reason that none of our networks that cover the Yankees, none of them talk about Bryce Harper being a misfire. Here's how they did it. They convinced us that $330 million was a scary number.
Yeah.
$330 million were handcuffs. But you know what they never tell you? Here's what they don't tell you. They don't tell you that it's $25 million a year.
Yep.
They don't tell you that.
That the player basically plays for when they're at that level.
Exactly. So if you're a New York Yankees fan and you're looking at it and saying, well, what do the Yankees need on this roster? From my point of view, you need a guy who's a left-handed bat, who can get on base, and is a guy you want up with runners in scoring position. Yep. That's what the New York Yankees need.
Yep.
That's what they need. And you look at this team and you say, well, how can we fit a $330 million player into our what was a $210 million payroll? And I'll tell you how. The number's not 330. 330 million. Sounds like a lot. It is 25 million. And we just did it with Josh Donaldson. Did the Yankees sit there and say, well, how are we going to fit Donaldson into our payroll? No, they just went out and got him. And we can just go over whatever tax that we have to go over. Yet they won't go get the big sexy name because the Yankees don't want to buy players.
Yeah.
We have not gone after a big free agent and landed him. I don't want to say we've not gone after, because the Yankees tell us day in and day out, oh, we're calling, we're on this guy. We're talking to his agent. We're a fully operational Death Star. At what point, are we a fully operational Death Star? The New York Yankees are passing up on Bryce Harper because half of our fan base wants you to believe that $300 million 10-year contracts are bad news.
Yep.
That's what they want you to believe. That's the narrative. It is constantly the narrative. And the last time the Yankees won the World Series, their most clutch player that they had, Mr. Alex Rodriguez, was absolutely clutch in the ALCS, in the ALDS
Joe
against
Nathan is still having nightmares.
Joe Nathan taking him deep to dead central. Our 10-year guy. Those players, when you make the proper investments on your big time players, you don't have to worry about the payroll. And that's what the Dodgers do. That's what the Dodgers do. Well, they bring in a Trey Turner and say, who cares how we're going to pay him? We're just going to do it.
Isn't that the comical thing? Because you bring up 09. Let's talk about 09 for a second. Let's remember what happened. They go out there and they sign CC Sabathia. And everybody goes, cool, they got the ace. Great. They come back and go, we're going to sign AJ Burnett too. Everybody goes, oh, awesome. Do we need him? Maybe not. But look at it. Look how it turned out. Next, they go out there and they trade for Nick Swisher. And everybody goes, oh, man, okay, I guess that's our first baseman. I didn't think so. Brian Cashman comes out and goes, yeah, we're gonna put him at first base. That's the position for him. Great. We had an Xavier Nady, if you remember at that time.
Yeah.
Came over, did a great job in 08, 09. Starting right fielder, right? Then the Yankees come out of nowhere and go, we're also signing Mark Teixeira. And everybody's head's like, whoa, what the frig?
Yeah.
Holy crap. The people who hate the Yankees, what are they saying? Oh, they're looking to buy a world championship again. And George Steinbrenner on his deathbed is like, yeah, I want one in my new home. I want to see one before I go.
Yeah.
And whatever it takes, we're going to go do it. But that is the mentality. It's the mentality that our neighbors in Queens now have, that enough it's never enough. You go out there and add until you're blue in the face. And the Yankees won the World Series in 09. Guess what? It ended up that Nick Swisher took over for an injury and had one of his best years of his career.
Pete, look at this chat right here. From William M. He says, terrible contracts on this Yankees team right now. Now, I totally agree, but let's actually break down the contracts. Are the Yankees' highest paid players bad contracts? Let's look at Garrett Cole. So Garrett Cole at this point, he's pitched very well for the New York Yankees in totality. He's been incredible.
We could complain about the shitting the bed in some playoff games. That's fair.
We absolutely can.
But also market value, he got what he's going to get.
He's going to get $35 million a year.
Right.
He was dominant in San Diego with no crowd. He was dominant.
Yes.
In the postseason, he was clutch. He did exactly what he had to do. So our guy's going to maybe have one bad year. Yes. Happens to everybody. Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling. It happens.
Yeah.
And that's only a short sample size in those postseasons. So let's keep it at that. So Garrett Cole's been a success. $324 million deal, $36 million a year. Next biggest contract, Giancarlo Stanton. I would argue
He's an excellent contract.
Stanton is a phenomenal contract for
Correct.
the Yankees. Phenomenal.
And his
because
deal,
the Yankees,
his deal looks tremendous right now.
Tremendous. And the Yankees want you to believe that we would have gotten Bryce Harper had it not been for Giancarlo. No. The issue is that Giancarlo was on the roster and he was used as a scapegoat to not go get Bryce Harper. That's what happened. If the Yankees really wanted Bryce Harper, and Bryce should tell us this, they would have put Aaron Judge in center field. He's fully capable.
No doubt about it.
He would have played center field, and you move Bryce Harper to right field.
And, I still honestly feel like that's an excuse.
It is.
I feel like if the Yankees really came to Harper and said, hey, look, Bryce, we got this young kid. We don't want to move him yet. Would you be willing to play center field until we figure out what is best? I don't believe Bryce would have been like, I'm not coming to the Yankees to play center field. Oh, you mean the same position that Mantle played? That all the legends played? You wore number 7 for years because of Mantle. You mean to tell me you don't want to play where he played?
Guys, this is how much of a Yankees fan Bryce Harper is. I played with Bryce I met Bryce when we were 10. Okay? He played for the McDowell Mountain Yankees growing up. He played in Las Vegas. He played in a club ball tournament in Arizona, and a lot of people were at this tournament. We were the best team in the entire country, the number 1 team in the entire country, and the Las Vegas Red Wings, which was his team, were number 3. He came into town. He was wearing number 34 at the time. He wore number 34 at Cooperstown. He was always wearing number 34, and everyone said, why are you wearing number 34? He was always 3. 3 plus 4 is Mickey Mantle.
Bingo.
That's how big of a Yankees fan he was. And he always told us from age 10, they don't have my number. They have my number retired. So I want to find a number that I can wear as a Yankee and put in Monument Park. And they just chose not to do that. This is
a generational talent. Let's not forget that. This is not somebody that just comes along and is like, yeah, he'd be a decent fit. He's the man. He's the man. And the other thing, too, about Harper that I wanted to mention was, even at the time, you look at your lineup, you look at the way your roster is constructed, you look at the stadium, and you're like, you don't find better fits than Bryce Harper.
No.
And the Yankees simply said, nah, it's all right. We're good.
Pete, do you remember the fact that this lineup got right-handed heavy because they told us that they like right-handed hitters in this.
Because they could go to opposite field and it's easier and blah,
what a joke.
Blah, blah.
What a joke that ended up being. That was just wrong. That's just completely nonsensical.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Everybody knows the fact that left-handed pull hitters are most likely to have success at Yankee Stadium.
Correct. It's always
the
been
easiest
that way.
thing.
Never changed.
Yes. I played baseball all the way up until college. The easiest thing you can do is to pull the ball. It's the easiest thing you can do. It's the reason that everyone says, why can't you go the other way? The reason they can't go the other way is because it's easier to pull the baseball. That's why. Breaking balls get you out ahead. You can pull those balls. Yep. Fastballs, it's easier to make adjustments and pull the baseball. Yep. So why would you think building a roster and steering away from Bryce Harper is the best possible move for the Yankees? And we also have a super chat that I'm reading just now from Anthony Medina. We appreciate it. Anthony, always here. He says, hey guys, hope you're doing well. I hate that DJ has been the most consistent hitter for the Yankees. And he says, we're still catering to Glaber. I still believe it. And I think Pete, I think you agree with me that they're trying to make sure that Glaber's value is spiked.
No doubt about it.
So that they can win some type of trade. I think they're going to try to use Glaber as a headliner, and that's not going to work.
He's going to let them down. He's going to let them down. I mean, I've never seen somebody. I watch his at-bats, and there's some at-bats when you go, oh, that swing actually looked good. And then he just looks so bad. I mean, I've never seen a guy that looks like he has such a labored swing. There's just so much about him that just doesn't look good. And it looks like he's, at the end of the day, I mean, hey, you at this point got to credit his best season to a season where Brett Gardner hit 27 homers or whatever it was.
They were playing with juice baseballs.
No, they were like these balls. I remember, what was it again? Somebody hit a little grounder and it like bounced at the plate and went flying in the air.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking around like, yeah, that's not normal. Like,
that only happens in Arizona. See, that's a ball. When you hit a ground ball off the plate and it bounces over the infield, that's something for a hard infield.
Yes,
but
correct.
What we saw, this is not an Arizona infield. This was just on a major league field where the fields are soft as a baby's ass.
Yep.
They literally chopped the ball right over the infield.
Yes.
He was hitting with juice baseballs.
There was infielders jumping for ground balls. When the hell do you see that?
There just weren't ground balls. Like everything on the ground was just way through. Yeah. They just weren't, is not close.
Yeah.
And I don't get it, because if your goal is to try to increase Gleyber Torres in his value to the New York Yankees at the trade deadline, I promise you the Pittsburgh Pirates and all these organizations, they're not fooled by Gleyber Torres being on the market. This is not MLB The Show where you can just say, well, I'm off a good year, so maybe we can try to finesse a team. No, organizations know exactly what the Yankees are doing. We're predictable, guys. Yep. We are predictable. Everything we do. Other organizations are going to be able to see what happened. If Gleyber Torres is on the block if he's on the block at the trade deadline, what do you think other organizations are thinking? We're not gonna pull the trigger on Gleyber unless you're giving us something else back, another prospect.
Well, Chef, think about it. You're 100% right. You have a decent pitcher. Let's say Maile. Maile is a good pitcher for Cincinnati. Would you as Cincinnati say, you know what? I think we could build around Gleyber? Hell no.
Of course not.
No way. So if the Yankees come calling to me and go, hey, we like this guy. Gleyber's available. Maybe we work something around that. Gleyber on who? Your top 2 prospects? Because I'm not interested in that guy. Don't insult us. I would love to negotiate with Brian Cashman. I would love to.
But don't forget, Gleyber's not a prospect.
Gleyber Torres anymore.
Gleyber Torres is now, for the most part, a finished product. And then most importantly, he's making $7 million.
Yep, bingo. So
he's making $7 million.
You know what? You want to hear something crazy, Gary? This guy's a bad season away from being released.
He is.
Because who's going to want him? We sit back and we keep thinking about the 30-something home. He is not that guy.
No, he's not that guy.
He's not. And Miguel Batista, former pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think that's you. Long-ass season ahead, boys. Oh, man, and we got the great blessing to do live games and all that fun stuff, which we'll be doing right after this, by the way. Game Season Live is coming up at 7 o'clock. Gary will be joining me for that also, so make sure you guys are there. But, just continuing along with the conversation, it's going to be very interesting to see the trajectory of this team and what moves they decide to make, because if this team is ever really out of it, which I don't know if that's realistic because of all the extra wild card teams. I don't know if it's going to be realistic for the Yankees to be really out of it. But I tell you what, man, it'll be interesting to see what the mindset of the front office is. If they're in second, third place, maybe one of the teams pull away a little bit and they go, Gallo, we don't want to re-sign. Judge, we don't even know about. He's not going to give us the opportunity to sign him before the season.
Is Gallo a free agent after the season?
He is, yes.
Gallo should be gone.
And exactly, that's my point. And then Gleyber Torres, we already got his replacement in DJ LeMahieu. So how much of these guys do we move? Even if we're in a race, do you let them sit there and keep getting at bats? Why?
No, from my perspective, there's a lot of guys on this team that shouldn't be here next year. Gleyber Torres shouldn't be on the roster.
They shouldn't be here this year. But they
shouldn't be here this year, but yet they are. So we have to move as if they are here. And Joey Gallo should be gone. That's just as simple as that. Aaron Hicks, based on his contract, I would assume he's just going to be there. So we'll assume he's going to be in center field.
Yep.
Aaron Judge should be the right fielder. From my perspective, we've looked at the numbers, about $80 million. Donaldson should be gone after this year.
Yeah, there's no point in keeping that guy around. I'm sorry. No
Volpe,
point.
If he's not the starting shortstop next year, we're in trouble.
No, if he's not the starting shortstop next year, make up for your damn mistake and get Correa.
Exactly. If Volpe's not ready, we're in trouble. The second baseman should be DJ.
Too? And this is the problem when it comes to Anthony Volpe. So, for you guys who don't know, and by the way, Paulie Pastavazul, that's one of the best names I've ever seen. I'm on here. Don't make me hungry, Paulie. You look at Anthony Volpe. And if you guys don't know, I think Anthony Volpe is off for like a 3 for 24 start in AA with 10 plus strikeouts, 12 strikeouts or whatever. But he's also like the youngest player in AA.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Like, prospects deserve to prospect. They deserve to develop and have that time. Not the Yankees basically coming out and saying, we passed upon these guys because we like Volpe. Okay, well, if he's not here next year, fans are going to be like, well, what the fuck? So
I don't know. I don't know what to say because we're talking about pressure.
Problem.
Yeah, we're talking about pressure. I mean, here's the thing. I said this before we went on air. Anthony Volpe showing up and being a superstar, is he supposed to be Wander Franco? Because from my perspective, Wander Franco was an automatic out last year in the first half of the season. That's a fact. He hit 200. If Volpe showed up and hit 200 for half the season, are the New York Yankees a good enough team to win the World Series? The answer is no.
No.
That's what it is.
No, not at all.
Because that's what we're getting from IKF.
Yeah.
He's going to hit 200. So if you're going to tell me that a player's got to show up and be a superstar, he's got to be at 22 years old. That's what he's going to be. He's going to be 22 at best, 22 years old.
Yep.
Well, he better show up and be a bona fide superstar.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is there's so many other things. You need a left fielder. You need a third baseman. And this is why we told you Carlos Correa was the guy.
No doubt.
If you bring Carlos Correa in, he's not your shortstop. He's this year's shortstop. And if Volpe is the real deal, he'll play shortstop. We believe in him. I think he's going to be really good.
I do too.
Then you move Carlos Correa to third base, who has a bad back. You put him at third base, especially with the shift coming off the books. The shift's going to be gone. The shift is going to help Carlos Correa stay healthy if he was able to stay at third base.
Oh,
and the Yankees
chose Correa. Perfect.
They chose not to do it because the Yankees are looking at this and they want to say, hey, remember when we didn't go get Correa? Well, now Volpe's a star and we could potentially go get Juan Soto now. Aren't you guys happy?
Yep.
And we won't get Juan Soto.
Yeah.
We will not get Juan Soto. And people are going to be sitting there. We're going to have the same conversations. And the reason we started this network is because we want to let people know the Yankees are spending $260 million, not because they paid for players and got Garrett Cole and Giancarlo and Aaron Judge. No, Aaron Judge is not paid. The best players on this team are not paid. They're just not.
Right.
The highest paid players on this team, we're sitting here talking about Zach Britton, Aaron Hicks,
Aroldis Chapman.
Aroldis Chapman, a reliever.
Who we enjoyed yesterday, didn't we?
We sure did. The Yankees are spending what they're spending because the complimentary players are expensive and the stars are cheap. What are we talking about? In New York, what are we doing? And if the Yankees brought in a $25 million player, which Bryce Harper was, that's where you start getting more. That's where you start getting creative, as Brian Cashman says. Creative to find complementary players. That's where the creativity comes in.
Yep.
And they didn't do it. They just didn't do it. And it's unfortunate because we can't sit here and say they didn't spend. They just didn't spend properly. You didn't spend on the top end guys.
And the other thing that bothers me about this organization is if you're going to use the excuse that you passed up on certain guys because you're so impressed by your youth, can you use your youth? Instead of complaining right now about IKF, let us complain about Peraza then. Let us say, you know what? Maybe this guy shouldn't be up here right now. Maybe they pushed him too quickly. You know what? Or this. Maybe we just wait and see because he is young and he can make adjustments. Maybe we do that. But instead of even doing that, the Yankees go, no, we'll trade Gary. We'll switch infields with the Twins. And then the Twins go, oh, yeah.
Switched.
Remember Urshela and Correa? Oh, yeah, Yankee fans. Yeah, that was and that's what we're going to have, right? No, the Twins are. We're going to trade. We're going to give them that. Oh, interesting how that works. So, if you're going to stick to the youth, don't bullshit us and blow smoke up our ass and then give the damn youth a shot. I don't think Yankee fans would have complained as much right now if Florial was manning center field and Peraza was at short. Oh, well.
No, I would honestly, because at least we know that IKF is not going to blossom into anything.
No, not at all. Guaranteed.
He's not. We know that. We know it.
And it's funny because the baseball savant god people all of a sudden wanted to hide baseball savant for once, but they're bringing it up immediately when it comes to Joey Gallo, because when he hits the ball, Gary, he's a 310 hitter. When he hits the ball, when is that?
When
is it that he hits the ball?
And this is the thing, Pete. To address the Joey Gallo exit velocity, and this is the way I'd put it. I golf often. And when I play with people who are amateurs, this is what they tell me. They say they usually played baseball and they know they can hit the ball a long way. So they look at me before they hit their drive every single time, and they tell me, I can hit the ball 330. I can drive the ball 350 yards. They tell me these things every day. We go out there. I watch them swing out their ass. They very rarely hit it. And if they do, it's with slice. And God forbid, every once in a while, maybe once around, they'll hit a ball dead straight and they'll go, I outdrove you, Gary. That's what Joey Gallo is. They are somebody who occasionally will show you what they can do, occasionally. And they'll say, well, I just hit the ball a really long way. When you touch it, you're not a good driver of the golf ball. Joey Gallo is not a good hitter of the baseball. That's what it is. He's effective for the right organizations that are contact first. But when you look at somebody who's an all or nothing guy, don't tell me, but when he touches it, it goes really well. If you rarely ever touch it, it's not that good.
Correct.
It's just not. And I don't understand what math you can possibly say, because to be honest with you, Pete, if somebody tells me, well, this statistic shows me that Joey Gallo's good, or that statistic shows it, you're essentially just telling me that my eyeballs are lying to me.
Correct.
Because watching Joey Gallo sucks. It's not a fun experience.
And that's the problem in baseball today, is exactly what you just said. We're watching a game with numbers instead of watching it with our eyeballs. And that is one of the biggest problems. You know, it's funny because I understand that pitching has gotten better in baseball, even going back to the 90s. It's definitely gotten better. There's more guys that are throwing harder late in games, and everybody coming out of a bullpen now is throwing 95, 98. But I look at the sluggers even then, and I'm like, man, one of my favorite players, obviously growing up, was Mark McGwire. Just because of the 98 season, it was an amazing time. Me and my father, is probably one of our greatest years that I remember as a kid. And Mark McGwire still managed, even in his later years when his back was destroyed, his knees were destroyed, he still managed to hit 250.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't mean that Joey Gallo is a much more athletic guy than a Mark McGwire is. Joey Gallo has a lot more ability than a guy like Mark. Mobility. He has everything more than the guy like McGwire has. Joey Gallo is what he is. And for the people that come out and go like, oh, he can do these things, he'll start beating the shift and all that. Joey Gallo went on the Yes Network live and said, I know who I am. I strike out, I hit homers, and I walk. I'm never going to hit for a high batting average. He told you. But yet people still throw a baseball savant page up and go, he's one of the most elite guys in baseball. No, he isn't. Stop that nonsense. It's madness. You know what, too? Here's my other thing. My dad brought this up to me, and he's right. When I told him about all these numbers, and he watched the Yes Network talking about these, and he goes, you know what's funny about those numbers? I go, what? He goes, wouldn't it reflect somewhere? I go, you would think it would, right? He goes, because then anybody who watches knows he just doesn't make contact enough. Yeah, obviously. If you watch games, you know that. And that's the issue with today's baseball.
Look at this chat from Anthony Medina. This is the best possible way I can describe the Yankees lineup. For anybody who's confused at what we're watching, you feel that they're inconsistent, which they are. Here's a great point. Yeah, Jared, 9 DJs would be ideal. Now, let me ask the entire chat this. Would you rather have 9 Giancarlo Stantons, or would you rather have 9? Imagine if we had 9 Joey Gallos or 9 DJ LeMahieu's. A lot of those numbers, the WAR and all those numbers show us that Joey Gallo, his on-base percentage plus his slugging, all these numbers show that he's a more impactful offensive player.
Yep.
Would you rather have Joey Gallo hit 9 times in a row?
No.
Would you rather have DJ LeMahieu hit 9 times in a row? You're not going to have many home runs. There's not going to be much. You're not going to see any home runs. But from my perspective, it's not just staring at batting average. It's the fact that players like DJ LeMahieu, Starling Marte, the guys that we've mentioned, Brian Reynolds, they have an ability to not just hit for average. When guys are on second and third base and runners in scoring position, they can make quality outs. They are more cerebral players. They make adjustments. And from my perspective, a lineup of all contact is better than a lineup of 100% power.
Yeah.
And we just took our best contact hitter out after one of the worst losses I've seen in years.
Oh, my God. Correct. And, yeah, you're right. And that's another good point. I mean, the Yankees had to be utterly embarrassed last night. I mean, I don't even know if Aaron Boone even spoke to reporters after the game. I don't know if he did. I really don't. I remember saying I don't want to look because if I see it coming, I'm going to get mad and I want to go live. So I'm like, no, don't look at anything. But I didn't see any quotes from it or anything like that. And I'm just like, you probably as a team are embarrassed. And then you come in today and arguably your best, most consistent hitter is like, yeah, you sit the bench for Gleyber Torres. It's fine. Don't worry.
Well, from my perspective, Joey Gallo just told us he's not embarrassed. So
no,
why would the team be?
Yeah,
why would the team be embarrassed?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're spot on with all that. So, I mean, it's very upsetting with what we're seeing early on. The Yankees again are what now 4-4 on the season. Tonight's matchup is an absolute joke. The Yankees, if they don't put up, I'll be nice.
8.
If they don't put up 5, minimum 5, there is a serious issue on this club. If this, I don't even know his name, but it's not even important. I don't even know the guy's name starting tonight, but it's not even important. No, this guy doesn't get nobody out. He's another Ben Boom. Okay, you don't know who he is. We don't know who he is. If he comes out there today and me and Gary got to watch the New York Yankees go out there and shit the bed again, hey, it is what it is. I was planning on doing the game live by myself. Gary said he wanted to join. I said, hey, look, you want to be miserable with me, come on and join because I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous for the first inning. I really am. I'm a little nervous to see a 0 up in the first inning again.
Well, you know what, though? Here's the thing. If the Yankees don't score in the first inning, that usually means like maybe one guy got on base with a walk. It's 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, what have we got in the back end of that lineup? Really? Like, isn't this exactly what you thought it'd be? Really?
Yeah.
Like, did we think we were scoring with these lineups? When you take if DJ LeMahieu's taken out of the lineup, if Aaron Judge is taken out of the lineup, what am I looking at?
Yep.
Is this really good enough to say, yeah, well, we can take out their best contact hitter? If you do that with Houston and you say, well, we'll just get rid of George Springer. They've still got Altuve and Bregman
That's right.
and Alvarez. There's guys, all those guys would be hitting third for the Yankees. They just have better lineups. So I don't want to hear anything about home runs. We're not a good lineup.
And
period.
looking at the lineup again for today, guys, I got that on the screen for you all to see. If you look at 5 through 9, tell me if you got confidence in any of that. Let me know in the comments. If you look at 5 through 9 right now for the Yankees in today's game, Donaldson, Gallo, Torres, IKF, Trevino. Is that a lineup that you look at and you go, the owner is paying $260 million for this? This is what the Yankees are fielding. And mind you, the crazy thing is, the only guy missing is DJ LeMahieu. It's not like they have 3 injuries. That's the scariest thing.
This looks like a spring training lineup.
It does. That's the scariest thing about this team. Think about that real quick. They have no injuries. None of their starters are hurt.
Nope.
And that is the lineup on a team that is costing $260 million. You know what that is, everybody? Brian Cashman failing at his job miserably. That's all I can say to that. It's a failure.
$10 million on Hicks. Judge is an arbitration player, hasn't been paid at all yet.
Yeah, right.
Rizzo's a 16. Is there an 18 million? I think it might be
16. I think it's 16.
Yeah, $16 million player in Rizzo.
Would it opt out after this year?
Right. So Rizzo. Stanton is, I believe, a 27?
27, I believe, yeah.
$27 million player. Donaldson's a $25 million player. Gallo's a $10.5 million player. Torres, $7 million. IKF, and he's obviously nothing
$5
there. And Trevino's $1. So yeah, so when you're looking at that lineup, you're spending a lot of money there for mediocre. They're not bad players. I'm telling you guys, Hicks is not a terrible player. He's just not even close to worth. He should be the starting left fielder for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Bingo.
That's what should be happening.
And what happened to our pride? I mean, what happened to the pride of the Yankees, really, of what you're putting on the field? And I think that's such a valuable point, is that what Gary just said is right. I mean, a guy like Aaron Hicks, no disrespect to Aaron Hicks. Again, like Gary said, I agree. I mean, I think he's off to a decent start for this year. You look at IKF. You look at these names, Gleyber Torres, Joey Gallo, Josh Donaldson. These aren't Yankee ball players. These aren't
professional
guys that
baseball players.
Damn right. They should not be starting for this team.
No.
And that is not us being negative. That is not us complaining. That's us telling you guys the God honest truth of this team, and you know it too. Even the naysayers know it. But they just don't want to be the guys that go at the end of the year. If something good happens, well, we told you.
We told you not to give up.
That's what they want to be. They so desperately want the Twitter crowd to go, oh, so-and-so was right. I knew it. I knew IKF would hit 300 this year. I got a better chance of hitting the lotto 3 days in a row than IKF hitting 300 this year. Mark that down.
Pete, the mentality's day to day. Because here's the thing, we're facing a pitcher who I've never heard of. I'm not going to sit up here on
I have no
on the
idea
airwaves and act like I know who he is. He's still a professional, so not a bad player.
He still made it to the majors.
Correct.
Facts, I agree.
But the Yankees should be scoring anywhere between 5 and 10 runs tonight. That should be happening for the New York Yankees. So if you're the Yankees...
What would 09 do to a guy like this? It would have been sickening. It would have been a joke. What would 2017 would have beat this team up?
They really would have. They just would have, and it's obviously sad, but we can't sit up here and act like based on this roster, we're disappointing. We're not disappointing.
Yeah.
It's disappointing what the roster looks like.
Bingo.
I'm not disappointed with last night's performance. I'm really not. I hopped in there just thinking, well, even with our mediocre roster, we should probably tattoo Lyles.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
Facts.
And based on what I saw, I was like, you know what? Hicks and having Judge out and our best hitters after the 5-hitter is Joey Gallo.
Yep.
That's really not going to get it done. And it's on anyone's team, let alone the Yankees. So based on what I'm looking at, this is the result. We're a really good team only because we're a good pitching team overall. That's going to win us games, and we're just going to struggle to score all year.
Gary, I mean, I wish I can get like 10 ball players that haven't retired too long ago and ask them a simple question. What happened to the leadoff hitter? What happened to it? Because
the stolen base, I would assume.
Well, go back to, again, I just go back because our best reference is what was the last World Series for the Yankees? It was 09, Jeter and Damon.
Yep.
Does analytics tell you that Jeter and Damon wouldn't be good leadoff hitters? Wouldn't be good for the top of an order? What happened to baseball in the last couple of years where table setters are a thing of the past?
I would assume analytics does tell them that, because
I would think so. You would hope.
DJ LeMahieu is being told that because coming into last night, he was hitting 300.
Right.
If DJ LeMahieu came into last night hitting 300, he's sitting there looking, well, I have the highest batting average on the team, me and Hicks. I'm the best hitter, clearly, between me and Aaron Hicks. I should be hitting leadoff. So analytics should be telling them that, because that's common sense.
And analytics obviously focuses too on on-base percentage, but LeMahieu does that.
He does. And it doesn't matter. He is slotted in 5th. I don't know what program they use. I'm not in their front office. I don't know what group of nerds are telling them that a player like a Johnny Damon or a Derek Jeter, because I'm sure if we asked them, they'd say, well, if we had Derek Jeter on this team, he'd be penciled in at leadoff, would he?
Or Starlin Marte, who homered for the Mets today and he's having a decent start.
I can promise everybody that the players that you had, and you had an idea of what we'd do with Bryce Harper, I can almost guarantee you guys, if we had Bryce Harper on this year's team, they would find ways to do stupid stuff with him in the lineup.
Yes, correct.
He'd be dancing between 2 and 4. They'd be going, he's hitting 2 today. We like him behind DJ who's hitting leadoff.
When everybody knows he should be the number 3 hitter every single day.
Every single day.
Every single
Bryce
day.
Harper. Bryce Harper would be the best player on the Yankees today. The number 1 player. It's not close.
It's not close at all.
He should be hitting 3rd. And I promise everybody, if you think that Bryce Harper would be penciled in 160 times a year, no. Bryce Harper would be hitting 2, and then one day he'd be hitting leadoff, and then another day he'd be sitting inexplicably. It's just what we do. The whole thing needs a revamp. It really does.
I think it's a horrible problem for the team. I really do. I don't like the idea of every day there's a new lineup. I don't understand it. I think it's a major issue. And coming into the season, I said it. A lot of us said it. DJ LeMahieu should not be a guy that moves around everywhere. Can he do it? Yes. But he is your best second baseman. Play him this is not some new breakthrough that we've developed. Major League Baseball, I don't care what team you're on. You could be in Little League and you could say, okay, I know I'm going to play my best position because I'm the best at it. It's obvious I'm the best player at that position. You ask the Yankees and you go, who's our best second baseman? DJ LeMahieu.
100%.
DJ LeMahieu. Everybody would sit there and say, Gleyber Torres, if he's being realistic, would say DJ LeMahieu.
He would.
But the Yankees are sitting there saying it's Gleyber Torres.
They are.
And that is the point I'm trying to make when I said earlier, this team is not far away from being a World Series caliber team, but they gotta get rid of the bullshit and put egos aside. Maybe Steinbrenner just got to make the tough choice and go, look, at the end of the day, under leadership of Aaron Boone, it hasn't worked. You're gone. Under Brian Cashman's it hasn't worked. You're gone. I'm going to get uncomfortable. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring somebody. I'm going to interview like a madman, and I want a new philosophy here. And I want somebody to come in and tell me, when they come here as the GM, how do you fix my lineup? Go ahead, talk. That's all you need to tell me. I got everything.
Yeah.
I got the money you'll be supplied with. We got the prospects. You want to trade some of those guys? Let me know who. Let's figure out what your targets are. Let's do it right now. And you could fix this team in the offseason. It is not that bad.
It's not. And I told you, Pete, DJ LeMahieu should be the starting second baseman every single day. Gleyber shouldn't touch the field. Okay.
And let's say this too, Gary. Wouldn't he be the starting second baseman on the majority of baseball teams?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason he was top 5 in the MVP, is he was a second baseman. That was the point. So you put your best second baseman, you put him where he best fits, put him at second base. That means you have a shortstop and a third baseman. Let's just say before we made all these moves, before we had Donaldson, this is where you say, okay, we go get Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa should have been the shortstop. You leave Gio Urshela at third base. Next year, when Anthony Volpe's ready, you have an expendable player that is proven in Gio Urshela to trade.
Yep.
Gleyber Torres should have been traded this offseason for a player that more fits what the team this season needs. Instead of that, they went and got a 37-year-old player who's still a good player that doesn't fit this roster at all. We needed youth and speed. We went and got a guy who's 37 playing station-to-station baseball. Okay, what are we doing? I don't understand what we're doing. We're playing players in positions that they're not best at just because we can. So we can say we've got all these interchangeable pieces. That's what we were doing. We were talking about the fact, well, Aaron Judge can play center field. Joey Gallo can play center field. We've got all these guys who they can play all these positions. Yeah, but are they really great at it? No.
Right.
They're not great at it. They just can play it. And we're just overthinking the game of baseball. You need to find the best players that your organization can throw together at each position. If you do that and you're the New York Yankees and you're spending, and when you're doing those things, that right there, when you prove that that's what you're doing, really, people are going to start looking at the Yankees again and saying, I want to play for the Yankees.
Yep.
Now they don't do that. That's why nobody wants to play.
I agree with you 100%.
Why the hell would you want to play? I'm a Yankees fan. I would tell the Yankees to kick rock.
I've said the same thing, bro. I'm not even joking. It's funny. I was talking about that today. I said the same thing. People talk about all the time, well, it's the Yankees. Who wouldn't want to play it? Guys, what have they done?
The Yankees. The hell out of here.
What have they done? Like, we're not that club anymore where somebody as a free agent looks back and goes, you know what? The Yankees are close. I want to go there. We beat the shit out the Yankees every year. What do we care? Why
They don't
go
care.
there for?
No, because they know when somebody else, because there's going to be a player who takes some type of check that he somewhat deserves, goes to New York, and other players are looking at it and saying, okay, if DJ LeMahieu is playing the way he's playing, he's their best hitter, best contact player on the team. If I'm considered a Starling Marte, I'm considered a contact player. I want to do what DJ's doing, but they clearly don't value it.
Bingo.
Why would I go there?
Bingo.
Why would I go there? I'm paying the taxes already.
That's a great point. They don't value that type of play. And you want to know why? Brian Cashman had to be convinced to bring LeMahieu here. By a former GM, mind you. That's what happened. He had to be convinced to get DJ LeMahieu. He had to be told, hey, look, Brian, I'm telling you, bring him in. Jim Hendry had to convince Brian. I drafted him. I know that he's the perfect fit what your team needs. And Brian Cashman brought and was amazing. He played so good that then Brian Cashman had to re-sign him. So this wasn't a move where Brian Cashman's like, good, I like him, I want to bring him in. It's been year after year after year after year of the Yankee fan, me, Gary, this whole network, even before they came to this network, of saying what it's obviously needs to happen. And the Yankees have just not done it. And now we're seeing games like yesterday happen. And last year, the same shit game after game. We're seeing all this stuff happen and it hasn't been good. So now we're just stuck here. Now we're stuck here in the hope that the team wakes up eventually.
I mean, hell, even the fringe star players, guys who were former stars, and Anthony Rizzo, he's being used in a way he has no business being used in. He's hitting 2, he's hitting leadoff, he's hitting 4th, he's hitting 3rd.
Ridiculous that he's a leadoff hitter. Ridiculous.
Anthony Rizzo, when you ask yourself, what type of player is he? He should be hitting 5th in a pretty good lineup.
Yes.
5th, he should be a 5th and in a really good lineup. And the Yankees should have a really good lineup, a great lineup. He should be hitting 6th.
Yeah.
That's what Anthony Rizzo, the type of player he is. He can have a monster season. He can. But you can say the same thing for Jorge Posada, Bernie Williams. You can say the same thing for those guys. They have the potential. Hell, you could have argued that Bernie Williams could have hit 2 for a week or 2. You could argue that easily.
Yeah, of course.
But he never, ever in his life would be hitting 3rd for the New York Yankees, because they say, why would we have him hit 3rd when we went out and got these players like Gary Sheffield, Alex Rodriguez, Hideki Matsui, we've got Jeter up top. That's what they do. You build a great lineup. That way you can have good players like Anthony Rizzo slide down the lineup, and it changes the way every single guy's pitch. It changes the whole game. It changes the pressure that's on each player. Thus, they play better.
Yeah.
And we don't do it.
Then. Guys, we're going to get ready to wrap it up here on that note. Give me and Gary a little bit of time to get set up with Game Season Live, which is right after this. So, guys, I see a couple of unfamiliar names in here. I know you guys are already subscribed, but if you know anybody, get them to sub to this page, NyynewsTV. For anybody that is new here, this is what we're all about, guys. And we got 6 podcasts running weekly. We do live watch parties, which is called Game Season. That is about to happen at 7 o'clock. Gary got his podcast on Friday. It's called Chef Talk. This is obviously Designated Spittaz, typically me and Francis Lee. Francis is unavailable today. Has some Easter stuff going on. But other than that, I mean, I just want to end it up today because we're not doing the pregame show today. Guys, in the comments, I always say the comments, in the chat box, let me know what your prediction is for the game today. I want to get it on record, let you guys know. Gary, I got to say the Yankees win this game. I mean, I don't know how they don't. I'm going to go ahead and say the Yankees win this one today 6-4. I'm going to say it's close.
That's a 6-3.
You got 6-3? Okay, Gary froze a little bit, but he should be coming back on. Guys, let me know in the comments section, in the chat box. Let me know, what do you guys think? What is the final score of today's ball game? We got Big Boy who says 6-3. Hal 9600 says 6-2 Yankees. Hirsch says 6-2. William says 7-1. Anthony 8-1. All right, Gary fell off, so it messed up the screen a little bit. We'll give him a second to probably rejoin. Let me see if I could block that out and move me. Well, I'm going to give him a chance. Let me just switch to the lineup for you guys. All right, guys. We got another one. Miguel says 5-2. Victor Bambino says Yankees win 3-2. Chris Colon says Yanks win 2-1. Oh, God, don't make it be that close for me. Joseph says 5-4. Bad Dog says 4-2 Yankees. Vinny says 5-3 Yanks. Richard says 9-2. Bad Dog, we got to talk about that show, my man. We got to get with each other and talk about it, see how it works for us. I don't want to say the name right now because I don't want to get people too excited, but I think that'll be amazing to do maybe once a month, twice a month. Alex says 10-0 Yankees. Ninja says 10-2 Yanks. Reggie says 7-3. Brad says 3-1. James says 2-0. With that being said, guys, that is today's lineup. Jameson Taillon is on the mound. And if you guys want, matter of fact, no, join us live at 7 o'clock. Gary Sheffield Jr. and myself, we will be watching the game with you. Game Season Live is coming up at 7 p.m. Until then, adios.
Before it hits the front page, NYynewsTV.